Sorry, it's like 100 degrees in Houston, Texas, so that's why I have a lot of fans and shit like that on. But we have to establish, all right, it just so happens to be, I saw a show on Natalee Holloway, The Disappearance, and all of that stuff. And it was on Crime Watch Network. I often watch FBI Files, Crime Watch, all that stuff. It's kind of fascinating to me. It's fascinating to a lot of people. A lot of people watch Forensic Files, Dale Hinman, FBI Files. I mean, it's pretty fascinating. Human psychology, human crime. And it's not just the like morbidity of it, the depravity of a human being to kill somebody to get sex or money or whatever. But it is fascinating from the perspective that they had risked their freedom to do so, or in some cases they think they can get away with it. So, or they're just psychopaths and rapists and sociopaths, and they just don't give a shit. They don't have human morals, or they don't have human. They're just not human anymore. Basically, they just are these monsters that just feed on people. So, 14 years ago, when this case broke, I was 25 years old, and at the time, Natalee Holloway would have been 18. And she was coming from Alabama to celebrate with her friends their high school graduation. All right. And so I have to do this backstory. There was a young man named Jordan Van Der Sloot, and he wasn't of Dutch royalty, but his father was a high-powered attorney or politician in the Netherlands and in the Dutch world. And in addition, it was sort of like his kingdom playground. Aruba is a Dutch territory, so I would tell you these information so I can set up the backstory. Now, as far as I figure, Natalee Holloway was celebrating her summer and going to Aruba and wanting to have a great time with her friends, go party, maybe meet some boys, maybe sleep with some guys. I don't know. Uh, Young, rambunctious, full of life, vivacious woman. And I heard these girls kind of drank to excess. Like they'd wake up, start drinking, and then it was go party all night, go dance all night, go party all night. And it's like sometimes when you're like 18 to 25, you go out and you do some pretty rambunctious things. You go live it up. You go get wild. You dance all night. You drink all night. You drink all day. Uh, it's not unusual probably in this kind of island setting. It's probably right for that sort of thing. So whether it's Ibiza or Aruba, the Caribbean, Bali, people are partying by the amazing beach sides. They're getting their drink on, and if they can have sex, if they find an appropriate mate or partner to have sex with, then they'll have sex with them. So now, if you add to this equation tons of amazing girls coming from all around the world to Aruba, but you're like kind of an affluenza guy like Van Der Sloot, you got money, you're kind of good looking, you're young, the girls are probably going to get really naked a lot faster because, of course, everybody knows money is power and money is influence and money is the image of success in America and around the world. So you get all these girls that are intoxicated on drugs, and you got a guy who's young, handsome, he's suave, he's not super handsome like a movie star, but he's tall and handsome, he can get the job done. Then you got a recipe for a lot of girls' disasters. Now, you've got pretty much trouble in paradise. Now, this just happens to be the date of Natalee Holloway's disappearance. I didn't really plan it that way, but it just, I looked on the date and it said 5/26, and I was like, oh shit, well, that's funny that I saw this. I guess it makes sense now. I saw this disappearance of Natalee Holloway. Now, to the big question. Would this still be talked about 14 years later if this was a girl from Italy or from Africa or Russia or something like that, or Romania or Slovenia or uh, South Africa? Probably not. There probably would have been maybe a controversy on the island and in the Dutch-speaking world in Amsterdam, the Netherlands, but Denmark. But it probably wouldn't have been a sensation outside of that. If it was a black girl, it would have been forgotten. It would have been like nobody cares. But since it was a very beautiful, almost Gwyneth Paltrow looking blonde hot babe from Alabama, then it got on people's, it was a big media sensation and a stir. So it kept the story alive and it kept it going. If she was not a beautiful blonde, vivacious, wild woman, then no one would cease to care. If she was just some Italian girl or some kind of shit like that, just visiting Aruba for a party vacation. If it was a different nationality, if it was a Peruvian or Honduran or Guatemalan person, it would have been in the news, and then it's unsolved, and the guy would have got off, and that would have been it. No, I mean, his dad was already in like Dutch government in the highest levels. I mean, he was like a high-powered lawyer. He was already wealthy. He gave his son money, his money. I bet you anything, Jordan Van Der Sloot never worked a day in his life. I bet he never was made to like work at a shop or do anything. I bet that he just said, "Hey, Dad, I want to go to Aruba. Can you give me some money?" And he said, "Oh, sure, son. Go have fun. Go party with the girls and go do your lifestyle." And that was probably like some pretty bad parenting on the father of Van Der Sloot's part. But he was like, "Well, I made it, and I'm going to pass on the affluenza to my son." And he's just going to go be reckless. And I think there was another heir of Wall Street fortune that used to go drug girls, and he would pull a Bill Cosby on them, and he would rape them, but then he would kill them. Not just fuck them and let them go. He would kill them, actually. I forgot what that person's name was, but he was like a big-time heir, like Folgers or some kind of shit like that. Maybe it wasn't Folgers, but it was some kind of big fortune like that, where he just used his wealth and influence to hurt people and to rape women and to kill them. It's not. I don't want to say that it's commonplace, but I want to say that if there's a guy with no like morals and he's a sociopath or a psychopath, and you give him tons and tons of resources, I don't see how this is going to be good. Especially if he's a shark, and he goes to these feeding grounds, to these islands where he knows all these girls are going to be coming to go experience paradise. So he has like a pretty big hunting ground from that perspective, from a perspective of a predator, And then what? He looks good too, and he has money. That's going to be he's not going to have to worry about how the panties are dropping because they're going to be dropping. He's not going to have to worry about, oh, am I good enough to drop these panties? No, he doesn't have to do anything. They get drunk, they get high, and they just come into his hotel and shit. He's like, look, I'm a high roller. My dad's in Parliament or whatever, dude. And but chicks fall for that shit. So Natalee seemed like she was partying and she fell for his charms. And unfortunately, she was left behind. She overdosed or something, and Van Der Sloot, with his accomplices or something, they dumped her body into the ocean, or they cremated it, and they chopped it up in little pieces, and they said bye-bye to the fishes. That's just another girl that we took care of here. And or she overdosed, they panicked, and they had to get rid of her body. So it's either a calculated kill, or it's a kill of it was an accidental overdose, and they covered it up. So there's only like two scenarios that you could actually believe. Now, since this guy was related to Dutch hierarchy, I mean, could you really expect that they were going to do like really great detective police work on him? They say justice is blind, but I think if you have enough money, there's some people bending the justice system, and they're paying people off to not do proper detective work because they're connected to somebody somehow, so they cover it up. I think this was a case in point. Um, so I thought this is how I thought the case was going to go when I was 25, when it was 14 years ago. I thought that, okay, they killed her, they raped her, she was drunk, she was on ecstasy. Uh, okay, they got rid of her body, and I thought it was going to be an open and shut case, that it was going to be like the pressure was going to mount, and then this Van Der Sloot guy would be gone forever. But that's not what happened. The Dutch police, they dropped the charges, and they couldn't find a body, so they couldn't pin it on him. All they had was like one, I think, video of him meeting the girl, and they had some Capo brothers, some Indian guys, and they said, you know, there'd be no way she'd be alone with two black guys in a car, even if she was like super fucked up. Um, so there was rumors about a sex slave thing, organization, and I'm sure those organizations do exist to kidnap younger girls. I don't know if they kidnap girls as old as Holloway was at 18, but I know there is some kind of slave sex trade. Um, so the rumors were that she was sent to Venezuela, but so after this disappearance, it becomes a he said, she said, smoke and mirror saga, the likes the world has never seen. So this case is still unsolved. Uh, Beth and David Holloway have not given up the fight for the justice for their daughter. Um, so this influenza guy, he gets off. They try to charge him again. He flees to Peru, and he kills this other girl named Ramirez, apparently because she found evidence that he had contacted Natalee Holloway or was connected to her murder, and he strangled her to death. Uh, so he tried to claim in court it was PTSD? Yeah, post-traumatic stress disorder, and that's why he killed her. And all the stress, the media coverage of being implicated in the death of Natalee Holloway. So he's charged in the Peruvian court. It's a pretty airtight case, and he doesn't get out on parole until the year 2038. Okay. Before that, Van Der Sloot tried to contact Beth and David Holloway and extort them for money, like $25,000. So the Interpol, the international police, tried to get him on extortion, but I think that's when he fled to Peru, using his father's funds. He must have had some kind of trust fund or something by his well-off dad, or wired him money or something. So what he likes to do is, well, he's a psychopath. He likes to control and dominate young women. He likes to rape them and then kill them or strangle them. He doesn't show any remorse or any signs of being regretful or anything. So he's a true sexual sadist, a true psychopath. He's very dangerous. He likes to go gamble. He likes to seduce women. He likes to go to party zones, exotic locations that only people with money can afford. He likes to be in the limelight, in the highlight. He has a narcissistic kind of personality disorder, which is conducive. I think that for him, even bad press is good press. He loves being in the news. And the media gave him exactly what he wanted. Now, if this was an Italian girl or a girl from Kenya, the girl would have been buried, and this case would have been dead in the water, literally dead in the water. But since it was an all-American, blonde, vivacious, almost Gwyneth Paltrow hot chick, it received national and international attention to the point where the Dutch authorities couldn't really cover it up. So if it had been another nationality that Van Der Sloot had done this to and his cohorts, then no one would have cared, at least as much. But since it was a beautiful, blonde, vivacious, all-American, uh, amazing girl, it just blew up everywhere. And also kept alive by Natalee Holloway's family. I thought they would just find the body, they would find the evidence, and it would be open and shut case. You know, they drugged and killed a girl, or they covered it up, and that's it. And then it would have been over with. But instead, we have this multi-layered international saga, which is they've already made one for TV movie about it. But so the final step in the process in the puzzle of the saga is really Natalee Holloway's family and the FBI going to get an extradition from Peru after Mr. Van Der Sloot is released. And at this point, his Dutch nationality and his Dutch connections to money and the hierarchy are going to matter less and less, because he's committed a very heinous crime, and or he's covered up a very heinous event. So in this case, the FBI and the Holloways are going to basically force him extradition to the United States to face the music of the charges. Finally, he will be charged with murder and extortion and all of these other things that he's charged with. So this is going to be the final piece of the puzzle. This is going to be the end of Van Der Sloot. The real end, not just serving in prison, not just being in a cage, but this is going to limit his ability to ever go hunt young women again. And I don't know how much assets he has, but then he, in prison, married another girl, and he's already got a kid along the way. So he's still wheeling and dealing from prison somehow. And yeah, it's a pretty incredible case. I mean, I hope they can nail this bastard forever, because that's what he really deserves. And there's going to be no money, no children, no nothing that's going to save his reputation or himself from justice finally will be served. And there will be no amount of money or no amount of running away and evading capture that this man can do. And he certainly is not going to be able to sleep with another woman again and get her knocked up or rape her or date drug her or something like that. So it is the 14th anniversary of the disappearance of Natalee Holloway, and I just wanted to talk about it because it's a pretty fascinating saga in American and world history. If it had just been some poor girl from somewhere else, probably Americans in the world would not care. Not as much. They'd still care, but it would just be a little media blurb, like girl from South Africa goes to Aruba, a Dutch guy date drugs her, and then her body disappeared, and then it would have been like the charges were dropped, there was no body, and then it would have been like, oh, there's no body, there's no evidence, there's nothing to link the man except a video that he met a chick. But in this case, it's a pretty gigantic international saga of rich hierarchy elites versus just kind of middle America, all-American girl. And it's going to play out in American justice system. So I don't know if Van Der Sloot will be executed, but he certainly will face justice, and he certainly will spend the rest of his life in prison. And he will be unable to get another young girl again and date, rape, or drink, and dominate her, and then throw her body into the ocean. That's or the sand or whatever, or burn her bones and cremate her and then throw her out into the ocean. That is the end of Jordan Van Der Sloot. He may have a son, he may have a daughter, they may grow up one day, and they may inherit some nice money from his dad or whatever, but their namesake is going to be pretty tarnished for a long time because this really evil man if he is indeed the true, I would suspect that he is the true suspect, because only somebody with this amount of money could evade the authorities for this long. Um, Only people with tons of money and connections can go into hiding if there's heat on them, or public scrutiny. So um, I think he's a pretty big time candidate for. Well, since he already killed a girl anyway, it kind of like shows his true nature in spades. Even if Holloway was an accident when he killed this other girl, he just went ahead and did it, carried through. But I suspect that he killed two girls. Who knows how many he really killed overall? I don't know if he's like a serial killer that has a big, how many chicks came into town and he set them up at the Van Der Sloot Hotel of Horror. Um, I'll never know. But as far as like kills, it's two confirmed kills. But if we're lucky, the next kill will be Van Der Sloot himself. So that's how I feel 14 years later about the whole case. It's a fascinating saga, and it's not even over until like 2038, 2039, almost 2040. Think about this. This saga began when I was 25 years old. It's probably not going to end until I'm like almost 60. That's a long fucking saga. So we'll see how it all plays out in the future. But I definitely want to live to 60 years old so I can see how this ultimately plays out long term. They made movies of Julian Assange, of Edward Snowden. I would predict that one day when this is all kind of wrapped up, that they're probably going to make a Natalee Holloway movie, a Hollywood movie. And whether it'll be good or not is up in the air, but um, I look forward to the resolution of this case. And it's kind of like a thumbs up to money. It's kind of like a nose up to money and privilege and power, that kids that behave badly, if they're suffering from affluenza, that they still are punished under the eyes of the law. They try to hide and run away and stuff like that, but eventually the law is going to catch up with you. So, um, all right. Best of success. I hope this wraps up very nicely.